Welcome back, everybody. Today we're discussing a topic that is deeply personal and challenging, and that's how narcissistic abuse changes your beliefs and your faith. It's not uncommon to question your faith during and after you experience narcissistic abuse. As a matter of fact, you have to. Let's talk about this. My name is Kevin, and this is The Royal We. Now, before I do continue, I want to let you know that I'm here to support you. Down in the description box below this video, you'll find access for one-on-one appointments with me. I take telephone calls and video calls through Zoom, FaceTime, and WhatsApp. Also, the Royal We Private membership is available, where you get daily support by me and a growing community of people all over the world. There's a custom workout program, there's weekly fellowship, and so much more, all within the privacy of a members-only app. So head on down there and get started with the Royal We Private membership. Now, let's talk about how narcissistic abuse changes and transforms your faith and your beliefs. To begin with, in the aftermath of narcissistic abuse, you will question your faith. You will question your beliefs. You have to. As you process the things that went on in that toxic relationship with the narcissistic person, you giving, the narcissist taking, you continuing to love, the narcissistic person continuing to hate, you continuing to try, and the narcissistic person continuing to neglect. All of these things that you're processing are in some way, shape, or form connected to your faith and your beliefs. Now, what makes matters worse is that oftentimes when you're experiencing narcissistic abuse or coming out of it, you may go back to the source of your beliefs, back to the source of your faith being the church, your pastors, the counselors, whomever. And what you're going to find is they might, in a way, justify your position of continuing to give while they take, continuing to love while they hate, continuing to try while they neglect. This was my experience when I was dealing with narcissistic abuse, and I was trying to process what was taking place, why I was being taken advantage of and taken for granted. And when I went back to the source, the church that I was neck deep in, I was on the worship team, I was on the counseling teams, and I needed help to navigate the situation. And no matter who I talked to within the elders and the pastors and the ministers and the counselors that I worked with there, I was met with, Kevin, no matter what's taken place, continue to give, continue to love, continue to try. And it's no wonder you reach this point when you are experiencing narcissistic abuse or in the aftermath of narcissistic abuse where you get fed up and you've had enough and you're ready to shake your fist. Shake your fist not only at the people who you go to church with or the source of your faith, you might even shake your fist at God, saying something is not right here. This is the moment where your faith begins to change, begins to transform. There's nothing wrong with being at this place. There's nothing wrong with wanting to take a break even from church. There's nothing wrong with questioning your beliefs and your faith that, after all, has led you into a place where you became vulnerable and susceptible to experiencing abuse. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that I believe that God even wants you to question your faith, that God wants you to question your beliefs, that God does not want you hanging on to these ideas and these principles and concepts that have made you vulnerable and susceptible to experiencing abuse in your life. Now, this period of doubt will feel overwhelming because the foundations of your faith and your belief have been shaken. You have got to now face the reality that somewhere along the line of your belief system, you were lied to, or something was missing. You were not given every bit of information that you needed. Otherwise, you wouldn't have gotten involved in the toxic relationship. You wouldn't have stayed in the toxic relationship. You wouldn't have allowed yourself into this place of vulnerability to become abused. So it's normal to feel overwhelmed because you realize that in some way, shape, or form, you've been lied to. However, this challenging phase of questioning your faith coming out of narcissistic abuse is oftentimes the most transformative part of your healing journey. The pain and the confusion that you've experienced is an opportunity for you to reevaluate and redefine what you truly believe in. let me help you to understand through my own personal story. When I was separating myself from the narcissistic in-laws that I was dealing with in Southern California, at the same time, I also had to separate myself from the non-denominational church that I was a part of. Not only did I separate myself from that church, I found myself feeling angry with the church, angry with my beliefs, angry even with God. After all, I realized that one of the only reasons I even endured the narcissistic abuse from those toxic in-laws that I was dealing with was because of my beliefs, because of the faith that I had. I would never choose to sit at a table and share a meal with mockers and criticizers and gossipers and people who like to start fights. That's just not who I am by my very nature. Yet for years, that's where I was, sharing a meal with, sitting at the table with these narcissistic people who like to bully and who like to poke and who like to cause trouble. And so, of course, I was upset. Why would my faith allow me to or cause me to believe that I had to be involved in that and to give and to love and to be patient and to show mercy and to show grace? I was upset. Of course I was mad at God, and I believe that God was okay with this. As a matter of fact, God met me in my anger and said, "Congratulations, Kevin. I needed you to become angry." And it's through my own personal spiritual journey that God said, "Kevin, come here. I need to show you something." And this is where I was able to deepen my faith. God took me on a very personal journey away from non-denominational Christianity, where I was able to dive in and explore the Old Testament of the Bible, parts in which most non-denominational Christianity stays away from. Why? Because the God of the Old Testament seems mean and harsh and too strict. Well, there's a reason why the God of the Old Testament seems mean and harsh and too strict. And the reason is because of narcissism and narcissistic abuse. Now, having dealt with narcissistic abuse yourself, you can understand why God is very strict and why God is against certain oppressive behaviors of people. But it was through my own personal journey where I started to explore the ancient Hebraic roots of my faith. I met with rabbis. I gathered as much information as I possibly could, and I was able to get a better, more accurate depiction and understanding of good, evil, light, darkness, right, wrong. Not only that, but the dichotomous nature of God. In the beginning, there was darkness. God said, "Let there be light." And the first thing God did is he separated the light from the darkness. You see, not only is God okay with separation, God commands separation. God commanded the light to separate from the darkness. And then looking at stories like the story of Cain and Abel, where Cain killed his own brother Abel out of a fit of narcissistic, jealous rage over nothing. And yet in the story, we see God talking with Cain, saying, "Cain, why are you about to do what you're doing? Why are you downcast? Why are you upset?" And in the story, we see that Cain gives no answer. This is a depiction of how you and I will never receive closure and will never get an answer for the narcissistic abuse that we've endured, because there is no answer. That's what that story's for. It's not that God didn't know why, but God wants us to know something. You'll never get an answer by talking with evil, by engaging with narcissists. You'll never get closure that way. You'll never find out what is truly going on. So stop trying. I could go on and on and on, but I will tell you this. If you're curious to know more about how the Bible helps us to understand and protect ourselves from narcissistic abuse, consider joining the private membership, where every week we have fellowship. So there's a lot more to be said there. But I just want to bring it to this conclusion for you and me. What this afforded me is the ability to bring this new understanding of the ancient literature in the Old Testament God and the things that had been missing from non-denominational Christianity all my life. I was able to bring these things together to reach this place in my life where I truly know what I believe in. I now am solid and founded in my faith. I have zero tolerance for narcissists. I have zero tolerance for abuse. I have zero tolerance for oppression. And I will always divide and separate myself from people who are toxic, from people who are oppressive, from people who are abusive. And I will work to separate you from people who are oppressive, people who are narcissistic, people who are toxic. I don't care if it's your husband, your wife, or your family. But at the same time, I'm able to bring it together with the love that non-denominational Christianity teaches. So you see, I'm able to bring them both together. No tolerance for abuse, yet in my intolerance, I'm able to now do it with the love that I have learned from modern Christianity. This is what it looks like when you're able to redefine your faith and what you truly believe. You keep the best parts of what you've always believed, but you add into it the things that are good and protective. It's only through this introspection, if you will, that your faith actually develops into a deeper, more personal relationship with you and the source of your faith, between you and God, between you and Jesus. It's no longer just about a set of beliefs that you follow because a pastor told you, or this person told you, or this church described it this way. That's not what faith even is. All these people do is get up there and talk and give comedic ideas and principles out of the Bible, but in no way, shape, or form has that ever been meant to be what your faith is based on. Your faith is highly personal to you. Why? Because God has given you a measure of faith that He's given differently to everybody. And so you owe it to yourself in your healing journey to become perfectly in tune with your faith coming out of narcissistic abuse, which is a consequence and a result of abiding by beliefs that were given to you rather than living a life of beliefs that are true to you. Do I need to say that again? Does somebody need to hear it? Narcissistic abuse is oftentimes attributed to living a life according to beliefs that were given to you, not out of living according to beliefs and faiths that are true to you. Jot that one down in your notes. Remember, this journey of questioning your faith is a deeply personal one. While narcissistic abuse has in fact shaken your faith and shaken your belief, it's important to understand that the only faith and belief that's been shaken by this is the faith and the belief that was given to you. It gives you an opportunity to now redefine and to accept what your faith and your belief truly is to you. How you can now position yourself to be at peace at all time, to only engage in situations and in areas that God has for you on your path in this life, according to your purpose in this life, to allow you to surround yourself with the people that God has for you in this life. I am glad you're joining me today. I know this is a deeply personal message, and that's why I said I am here to support you. Down in the description box, you can find access for one-on-one appointments with me. Telephone calls and video calls are available. Also, don't forget the Royal We private membership, where you get daily support by me and a growing community of people all over the world, all within the privacy of a members-only app. So head on down there to the description box, find out more about the Royal We private membership. I'll be back with more videos for you right here on the Royal We. Do me a favor, would you subscribe to this channel and hit the bell notification so that you don't miss any future Royal We content. Also, like this video and share it with somebody who needs to see this. Before I'm back, check out one of these videos recommended by the YouTube algorithm. I'll talk to you again.